It gives me a great pleasure now to introduce our first speaker, Julia Hanmer. Julia started as BSBI's new Chief Executive in April. She's previously been Chief Executive at the Bat Conservation Trust and has also worked for the Mammal Society and CPRE. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her background and her priorities going forward. Julia.
Thanks very much, John. Okay, so it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. It's wonderful to have this opportunity to introduce myself a bit and to share some news from what we've been up to at BSBI. So a little bit about my background. I've spent 25 years working in nature conservation from various nature conservation NGOs, including 14 years leading the Bat Conservation Trust. So I am more familiar with animals than plants, and I did a zoology degree originally, but I have always had a very strong interest in wild plants, and I've recently trained as a forest school leader. And in my master's course, when I was doing a conservation master's, just to improve my botanical skills, I did a wet meadows study in Jersey as well. So all of this, I think, has given me an appreciation of the importance of species conservation, the amazing contribution that experts and volunteers can make to species conservation, and the value of high quality science and data, and the need to promote that evidence base, and also to educate and engage people to get involved and to connect them with nature. So it's been an interesting time to start working for a new organisation, and I started as BSBI's Chief Executive at the beginning of April. And I've actually only met 2 people face to face from BSBI, sadly, but I have had an amazingly warm welcome from everyone through many, many virtual meetings. And here you can see me with the staff team at one of our Zoom catch-ups. I've also had the brilliant opportunity to zoom into all sorts of different areas of BSBI's work. And I've zoomed to the Committee for Ireland, Committee for Scotland, and yesterday had a brief zoom into the Committee for Wales as well, who you can see here. And it's been so fascinating meeting so many different botanists and members of BSBI and hearing about your journeys into botany and your journeys in BSBI. It's just, I'm so impressed by all you do, all you achieve, and the knowledge and all you share and get involved in. So it's been wonderful meeting you, and thank you for the very, very warm welcome. I'm really pleased to join the community of botanists. So that's a bit about me and my first 3 months. I wanted to give you a few updates now on what we've been up to. So we have been consulting Vice County recorders about widening access to our members' distribution database. And we're collating feedback from those recorders at the moment. And we're also consulting local environmental records centres. We think it's important to raise awareness and to allow people to carry out personal research and study, but we are listening to the very varied and different views that we're getting through at the moment, and the trustees will be considering those carefully before making a decision, and I will keep Vice County recorders updated on that. We're also, excitingly, starting to develop some new online recording software. And Tom Humphreys is starting to work on that this month. It will be, the software will be able to be used on mobiles, devices in the field, and in places where there isn't a permanent network connection. We are planning to start testing it in the autumn. So we may need some volunteers with helping testing that. And the aim is that it would be rolled out for wider use in the next field season, next summer. And again, you can look out for updates on that in our Recorder e-news. So we have been working hard, and I know many of you are missing having a Wales officer at BSBI, and so are we very much. And we have been actively looking to re-establish the Wales officer post. And we're working to try and discuss this with NRW, and so is Julian Woodman from within NRW. And I've got a letter that I've drafted and will be sending to the CEO of NRW next week, asking for a meeting, because we haven't yet managed to have that meeting. And there's so much potential partnership work we can do with somebody on the ground, working with you all in Wales to enhance understanding of wildflora in Wales and skills, but also to guide decision making on the ground, for example, in where trees are planted. We're also looking for trust and other funding. So if you have any contacts with trusts or foundations, or know of any good sources to look for, do talk to me or our new fundraising manager, Sarah Woods. I also wanted to give you an update from Pete Stroh on the Atlas. So thanks to mammoth efforts, we are on track to publish it next spring, late spring 2022. And for the very first time, this atlas will be an online atlas with interactive maps, and there'll be really exciting maps where you can move a slider on those maps and show change. So for example, change in distribution over time as you interact with them. There will also be a full colour printed version of the Atlas, and there's so much information in there. It's such a heavy tome that it's going to be 2 volumes. And there's also going to be a separate summary, a brief, colourful digital summary with the headline trends in it, and that will also be translated into Welsh. Thank you so much for the amazing work that you have done in gathering and checking records. This atlas will influence conservation decision-making for decades to come. So I also wanted to just tell you, and I'm sure you're aware of the National Plant Monitoring Scheme, but just to encourage you to have a look at it and see whether you can encourage other people to take part in it. We're looking for volunteers to adopt 1 kilometre squares, to visit them twice a year. And it's an amazing scheme. It's very, very widely known and influential because it's contributing to the national trends for habitats in the published government biodiversity indicator. And if you look at this map here, you can see the blue dots, the blue squares are the squares that we're looking for people to adopt squares. And there are 3 different levels that people can get involved in. So it's accessible for all levels of expertise, beginner, moderate, or expert. And on the website, there's some really, really good good quality training materials for sharing how to use the methods. So it's really worth looking at the National Plant Monitoring Scheme website, and do please promote it to your networks of recorders and contacts and encourage them to get involved in that. While I'm talking about training resources, BSBI's YouTube also has lots of really good recordings of some of the training courses and conferences that we've been running. And this Welsh meeting will also be going up on the YouTube after the meeting. So do check that out and have a look at what else is there as well. There's some very popular training videos up there. So I just want to say a huge thank you to the Committee for Wales, to Steph Tyler and Elsa Wood and everyone involved in the Committee for Wales. Thank you for Richard Price and the team involved in editing the Welsh Bulletin. I know there's an issue coming out soon. And I know you're missing those much loved field meetings and face-to-face get-togethers. I very much hope that those will happen again soon, and that also I'll be able to come and meet you face-to-face. So thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about what we're up to, and have you got any questions?
Thanks, Julia. There's one question come in at the moment, but please send your questions in during the rest of the meeting. This is from Jill Folks. Interested to hear about the new recording software to be rolled out from 2022. For those of us who prefer to use notebook and pencil in the field, will it still be possible to input records at home afterwards? Yes,
good question. And yes, absolutely, it will. Yes, it's just making it, accessible in other ways, but absolutely, you can still do it on paper as well. Yeah.
Thanks,